Hi, I'm Joan Van Becelaere, and I'm the Director of Unitarian Universalist Justice Ohio. And I'm here today on this Justice Saturday to talk to you all about how to vote in Ohio's extended 2020 presidential primary. There are over 7 million registered Ohioans who have not yet voted in the primary, and it's a little tricky. So I want to make sure that you all understand how it operates. Just to center us as we begin, I have a quote from Margaret Wheatley, who says that relationships are all there is, and everything in the universe only exists because it is in relationship to everything else, and nothing exists in isolation. And so we have to stop pretending we are individuals who can go it alone. And that's a very good lesson to know as we come into this primary election and into our November election, that we need to be helping each other. We can't make assumptions about what other folk know or don't know, or even what we know or don't know. We can't go it alone. So a little overview here, what we're going to do. How did we get here? Oh my gosh, what's happening with this primary? What is vote by mail, and what are the best practices that we should be watching for? And then how you can help to get the word out, how you can get involved. There is a ton of confusion out there about voting by mail and this primary, and even some links on sharing on social media and how you can help by telling your voting stories. So let's do a little overview. One, now due to the COVID-19, the polls were not open for in-person voting on March 17th. Now, after several days of confusing uncertainty about when the election would be rescheduled, the legislature, Democrat and Republican House and Senate unanimously ended up passing legislation called House Bill 197 that calls for an extended vote by mail period ending on April 28th. They did not change the date of the election. That's still March 17th officially. But what they did is they extended the vote by mail period ending in April 28th. They did not change the date of the election, however, technically. So there was a whole lot of fuss with this date. The governor and the Secretary of State had proposed June 2nd, but candidates were concerned about a longer primary. Local governments and boards of educations were concerned because of school levies and their requirements to notify teachers of staffing decisions by June 1st. There were some voting rights groups that wanted to get it changed to mid-May. And there are still some legal actions out there right now, but it does not look like anything will change. Instead, the legal actions are actually there now in order to protect the November election and make sure it doesn't suffer from this same mess. So the date is going to be, the final date for you to get your mail-in ballot in is going to be postmarked on April 27th, or dropped off by April 28th. Just assume that right from the get-go. None of the lawsuits are going to change this. Now, of course, the April 28th has a lot of serious problems. It will be difficult for voters to get a vote by mail application in time. That's why you have to do that now. If you haven't done it yet, do it today. You got to receive the application, vote, and then return your ballot in time for this all to be counted. Knowing that the mail and the post office are taking 7 to 10 days for some turnaround, knowing that returning the ballots, is also going to take quite a few days as well. So apply now. The absentee voting, or vote by mail, is extended to April 28th. The Secretary of State's office is going to mail voters a postcard, or has actually by now mailed voters a postcard with information on how to request a vote by mail application, also known as an absentee ballot. There will be limited in-person voting at the boards of elections in your county, but only for those with disabilities or homeless folk without access to the Postal Service, and you need to call the Board of Elections first to find out exactly when and where those opportunities are for disabled folk or for homeless folk to vote. Now, if you voted before March 17th, it will be counted. Don't worry about that. And I've included a lot of links both in this PowerPoint as well as on the written part of the blog for today that will tell you how to go and check on your ballot and make sure that it was received. Now, the legislature did not authorize the secretary to mail out absentee ballot request forms. The Ohio law specifically prohibits him from doing that unless allowed by the legislature. So instead, all the secretary can do, all that he was authorized to do, is send you a postcard to every voter who's not yet voted with information on how to apply for an absentee ballot. Actually, I think the postcards are going out to everyone. And this actually inserts an essential, an extra step, an extra delay into the whole process. This is what the postcard is going to look like. You may have seen it already. It doesn't say a lot, but you really have got to pay attention to getting your application in to get your ballot mailed back and then mail your ballot in. Yes, it's complex, but this is what we have to do. Now, there is no in-person voting on April 28th, except for those with disabilities who need accommodations and those who may be homeless without access to the postal system. You gotta call your county board of elections. On 4/28, those voters who are so qualified will be able to vote in person at the early voting centers, which is usually the same as the county board of elections office. Regular polling places will not be open. This is just a little graphic that you can display saying, due to the public health crisis, no in-person primary voting. It says it in stark terms. So what is a vote by mail? What's the best practices here? And I want you to help spread this very important message to everyone. All Ohio voters who have not yet cast a ballot need to vote by mail. That's 7 million of us. In order to get your vote by mail ballot, also known as an absentee ballot, you have to fill out and submit an absentee ballot application, hard copy with your signature on it in writing. You cannot request a ballot online, but you can print out an application to send in. You can also fill out an application online, but then you have to print it, sign it, and physically send it in. You print out an application from the Secretary of State's website, then you mail it in or drop it off at your Board of Elections if your county Board of Elections has a place to drop it off. If they have staffing, you gotta call. You gotta call and see if they're even open. Call your Board of Elections. You can also ask them to send you a vote by mail application form. They won't send you the ballot. They'll send you a vote by mail application form. Some boards of election have an automated phone system to request your application. Some may have a very long wait time to get through on the phone. The phones are a mess and they're understaffed due to the COVID-19 virus. There's a link to a directory of Board of Education phone numbers and addresses in the written part of the log that I've included with this video. There may be some application forms in your community, at grocery stores, at pharmacies, at the post office, at retirement centers, food banks. Right now, we've been asking all of our UU congregations to print out some of these applications and take them to these places where people are still going, so that people without access to a printer or without access to a computer can still pick up a ballot application form and send that in. If you don't have a printer, there's a couple of options. You can use a regular piece of paper as your absentee ballot application. And there's a whole list of all of the necessary information. There's a link that I've included with the written part of this presentation. And the postcard from the Secretary of State also lists what needs to be included on that piece of paper. But you know, most people are going to throw a little postcard like that away. You can also collect a form from your county board of elections. Some boards of elections even have a stack of forms available during office hours if they have office hours. So call and see if they have those forms. Or like I said, check a pharmacy or a grocery store or your congregation, or ask a neighbor. If you don't have a stamp, If you don't have a stamp handy, you can still vote. Once you've filled out your vote by mail application, you can drop it off at your Board of Elections. Call ahead to see if they have a drop-off box. When you receive your actual ballot, it will come with a postage-paid return envelope. It's only to get the application to get a ballot that requires that you have postage or that you take it in and drop it off. Now, you got to fill out the application correctly the first time, because there is absolutely no time for them to say to you, you wasn't correct and you have to do it again. You will not get your application in time if you don't do it correctly the first time and do it now. It's a very short turnaround. So up at the top you see, put in your birth date, not today's date where it calls for birth date. Put in the address where you are registered to vote, and I'll talk a little bit in a minute about what to do if you moved. The address where you would like your ballot mailed, if it's different than the address to where you are registered, okay? It is the election for March 17th. Include that election date, March 17th, because that is the official election date, okay? Or if you include any other date on that, the legislature actually said that they would not disqualify your application because of that. But you must choose a party, Democrat, Republican, or Libertarian, or choose an issue-only ballot. You have to mark that. And you have to mark that this is the primary election. And then big issue, don't forget to sign and date it, because it's that signature that will get you a ballot back. Okay. And this is just another version of the tutorial there, so you can see what it looks like. Okay, it's a tight timeline. I cannot repeat that enough. Get it back in time to be counted. The last day to request an absentee ballot is April 25th, but if you wait that long, you really will not get your ballot in time, so you have to act today. Actually, by the 17th, I mean, then that's even stretching it, so get your ballot application in today. Absentee ballots have to be postmarked on the 27th or turned in by hand on the 28th of April. If you're mailing it from home, put it in the mailbox on the 24th or 25th, because it has to be postmarked by the 27th. And the postman may not pick it up directly on the 27th, okay? So share this message. Voters have to act today to get their vote by mail applications in. Now, once your vote by mail application is in the mail, get ready to vote. And I will leave these links in the written portion of today's presentation, so you can find out what's on the ballot. You can research the candidates. You can learn about judicial candidates and know what you need to know in order to fill out the primary election form. Now, instructions for students. Many Ohio students registered to vote used their on-campus address. And now, of course, they're home because of the COVID-19, but they can still vote. Just like other voters, they need to request an absentee ballot and have it sent to where they are currently staying. The important thing to remember is they must request their absentee ballot from and return the completed form and ballot to the county where they are registered to vote. If they live in Marion but stay at OSU and registered in Franklin, they have to return everything to Franklin County, not from the county where you're currently staying. So a student who registered in OSU, now at home in Lima, will need to ask the Franklin County Board of Elections to send a ballot to their address in Lima. Now, once you send in your vote by mail application, you can wonder if it's been received and if the ballot is on its way back to you. Once you mail in your ballot, you may wonder if that has been received in time to be counted. Luckily, you can track your application and ballot at a link, and that link is included in the written part of today's presentation. Ohio voters who have moved in between the primary March 17th and now are still able to vote in this primary election. You fill out your vote by mail application. You write your new correct address in the address line that says, address at which you are registered to vote. That's question 3. Because you are not registered at your current address, you will be mailed a provisional ballot. Complete the provisional ballot form with the required information. The Board of Election will let you know what you need to do so that your vote will be counted. How to get involved? Well, you got to spread the word. You've got to tell everybody you know, to get their application in now so they get a ballot back in time so they can get it in postmarked by April 27th. We've got a whole variety of social media graphics and such, and I've put the link in the written part of today's presentation. Here's another little graphic that we got from the League of Women, or the Ohio Women's Alliance. We need your help to inform everybody in Ohio, all registered voters who've not yet cast a ballot, what they can do so they can act quickly. If you are doing a webinar or a Zoom meeting with your committee or a group at the church, consider inviting myself or someone from our Voting Rights Coalition. We have many folk to answer questions on the election. We'll be happy to show up. You can share our posts and updates via social media. UU Justice Ohio has been sending out a lot. We outlined all of this in our recent newsletter, and I have been sending materials to your justice teams and to your minister and other people at your congregation. And then you can also, if you're doing a newsletter and you have another little group, add one of the explanatory images or graphics to the newsletter. You can also get up-to-the-minute voting advocacy information from one of the groups in our coalition, like Common Cause, League of Women Voters, All Voting is Local, Ohio Voter Rights Coalition. That's our main coalition that we work with. And then collected images. And once again, this is in the printed part of today's presentation. Then we need people to share their voting stories, because we have got to stop this mess from happening again. And that's going to take some work with the legislature and some work with the governor. So sign up today. Once again, the link's in the written part. And we need letters to the editor, and we need op-eds. We need some radio interviews, TV interviews, online Facebook media interviews. And if you sign up, then we'll be getting to you with some of our media folk and information so you can help spread word, and you can help raise your voice and say, this does not work. This is not a good process. We need to make our vote by mail process easy, simple, and effectively open to everyone rather than closed and secretive like this one. Now, I talked about the possibility of some lawsuits trying to move the election date forward, or winning other accommodations to make voting easier for Ohioans. Regardless of what happens in the courts, it's going to be too late, and the advice is the same. Act now, request your absentee ballot now so you can get it as soon as possible now. And if you applied for an absentee ballot earlier and were denied because you missed the earlier deadline around March 17th, you now have an opportunity to apply again. Just assume that April 28th is the deadline. You have to assume that, because the other elements trying to go through the courts are all being delayed by the COVID-19 virus. because we want every single voter in Ohio to be able to vote. We want to have you exercise your rights to vote. We're trying to spread accurate information to assist y'all to be able to apply for and complete the absentee ballot applications and receive your ballots in time. We also want to hear about issues so we can advocate for voters who are potentially being disenfranchised right now, and also so we can work urgently to make improvements in this process to make future elections work better, because by November, it's not going to all be back to normal again. We know that. So if you or someone you know were denied the ability to vote in this election or to get a ballot or a ballot application, please visit this link, which I'll have on the form, or call 866-OUR-VOTE. That's even better, 866-OUR-VOTE. I also have a couple of other phone numbers and emails on the written part that will enable you to call some people for help. And are you registered for the November election? Of course, it's too late to register for the March 17th election, but are you registered for November? Go to ohvotes.org, check your registration, make sure it is in order. If it is not, you can actually register online for the November election, and you want to do that now and make sure that it is all in order. Just to close then, I know that some of this is confusing, and it's on top of all the other confusion that we're facing right now with the COVID-19, but that means we have to work a little harder to exercise our rights to the ballot box and our rights to election. But we can do this because people are the solution to the problems that confront us. Technology is not the solution, although it certainly can help, but we are the solution as generous, open-hearted people who want to use our creativity and caring on behalf of other human beings and all life. So thank you for listening to this. Please spread the word. Do not be silent, for there is no limit to the power that may be released through you. Thank you.